vision that would one day change the world's technology that we use each and every day, whether it's just listening to music or making a brochure or even surfing the web. This person made all of this possible. We have a man to thank for that, and his name is Steve Jobs. Steve Jobs was born on February 24th, 1955 in San Francisco, California. He was adopted as an infant by Paul and Clara Jobs, and in the neighborhood that he grew up in, many of his neighbors were engineers that created all sorts of gadgets and gizmos in their garages that really interested Steve, according to allaboutstevejobs.com. When he was 13, he made a friend, and his friend's name was Stephen Wozniak, also known as Woz. And they became really good friends. And also when he was 13, he was creating a science project, and he called HP and asked them for some computer chips, and they sent them to him, as noted from Wired.com. And after high school, when it was time for Steve to go to college, he asked his parents if he could attend Reed's College, but this was very expensive for the couple. But whenever they adopted Steve, they promised his biological parents that he would receive a college education, so they made it possible for him. Steve only spent a semester at Reed College and dropped out. He was more interested in Eastern philosophy, fruit diets, and LSD than the classes that he was enrolled in, and soon moved to a hippie town in Oregon afterwards to cultivate apples. He returned a few months later to California and searched for a job, and he found a job at a video game maker, Atari, to raise enough money to go to India to seek enlightenment. When he was back in the United States, his friend Woz was creating a computer system that included a screen and keyboard. And he showed it to Steve, and Steve was very impressed with his design, but he didn't know a lot about engineering. But when they were thinking of a way to turn this product into a business, they realized that they needed some money. And so Steve sold his Volkswagen van, and Woz sold his HP 65 calculator to come up with the $1,000 that they needed. And when brainstorming on a name, they kept the name Apple as a backup, in case they couldn't think of any other better names. But it turns out they didn't think of any other better names, and so the name Apple stuck. Woz and Steve made their first prototype of Apple I and sold it from door to door. And then soon after, Woz started on the Apple II prototype. When Apple II was finished, they showed it to a man named Mike Markula, and Mike drew a business plan for the two and gave them $250,000 for them to make 1,000 products. Woz quit his job at HP, and members were hired to form the Apple team. Apple II was the start of a personal revolution that began in the early 1980s. But since Apple's first generation of Apple I, that has come a long way from where we are today, according to Ryan Block on Engadget.com. In 1977, the first Apple I computer was created, and then soon after that, in 1991, they created the first computer with color display, known as the Macintosh PowerBook 100. And then, in 1998, they created the first iMac with a transparent back to the computer. And then, in 2000, they created the Flatbooks Macintosh computers. There. And then, in 2001, they created a new laptop with a DVD slot and portable Wi-Fi. And then, in 2001, they blew the world away with a portable music player known as the iPod. And then, in 2006, they created the MacBook Pro. And then they blew the world away again in 2007 by unleashing a new form of phone known as the iPhone on June 29th. And since June 29th, there have been 8 generations of iPhones, starting with 2G, and then 3G, 3GS, 4, the 4S, 5, and there's also a 5S and a color version of the iPhone 2. And then on April 3rd, 2010, they came up with an iPad, which was like a laptop except a portable tablet. Apple has also come up with several logos throughout the years. Their first logo was Apple Computer Company, with a woman reading a book underneath an apple tree. And then their second logo was a little bit simpler and had a bite taken out of the apple so that it didn't look like a tomato. And it shows all the different colors inside their logo to represent the first Macintosh computer with different colors on it. And then they went to a black apple, and then a light blue apple, and now to their current apple, which is silver. And one of the quotes that Steve Jobs said in his time was, "We have an environment where excellence is really expected. What's really great is to be open when the work is not great. My best contribution is not settling for anything but really good stuff. In all the details, that's my job, to make sure everything is great." As spoken by Steve Jobs. And even though Steve Jobs may not be with us anymore, his legacy and products he created will be remembered and treasured for many years to come. Once a man who started building software in his garage to transforming the way the world uses technology, we will never forget.